Hi, and good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for taking some time here to walk through Crelate's data visualization and recruiting analytics webinars. Some of you may know we had hosted a webinar last month on some of the reports. This will sort of be a 2.0 version of that. A lot of it will be faced on the, how to actually configure and reconfigure your data, and some of that will segue into reports. That's why we threw the little 2.0 on the end. But I'm just going to pause here for a quick minute. I'm just going to mute myself just so we can give those who may be running a few minutes late some time to join the conference. So you'll hear from me here in just a second, as well as my colleague Brittany will be online in just a moment. So thanks for attending and look forward to speaking with you soon. All right, so thanks for bearing with us there as we just allowed a few more people to hop on board onto the conference line. For those of you just joining, today will be Crelate's data visualization and recruiting analytics 2.0. So we had, for those of you who may have attended last month's webinar, we had run a customization and reports Crelate Classroom session. Today's will sort of be a semi-follow-up on that, where we'll be getting a lot of data configuration and visualization. Why the 2.0? Because some of those will kind of ultimately blend and configure into some reports. So we'll have a little bit of discussion on that, but really the intent and goal of today's call is to hopefully share and show you all how to better arrange and rearrange different view-based options within your recruiting board, sales board, your job dashboard, just overall within your kind of main company's opportunities and contacts view. We just want to show some relatively newer options and different filter capabilities that you really have that you can take advantage of, not only just from a quick visualization standpoint, but as I noted earlier, you can ultimately also report this information. So it's easily shareable, whether that's with a client or internally with your team if you want a little status or progress report. So we'll be diving into a lot of these topics. We'll get pretty in depth. For those of you who have questions, I'm also joined here by my colleague, Brittany. So Brittany, say hi to everybody.
Hi, everyone. We're really excited to have a great turnout today. Certainly throughout this demonstration, we aim to make this very interactive. So on the right-hand side of your screen will be an area to type in questions. We encourage you as we go through this demonstration, if you have questions regarding anything, would like us to reiterate a certain topic, or if you have specific filters that you would like us to show, please feel free to type that in and we'll definitely address it throughout this webinar.
Awesome. Thanks, Brittany. But yeah, no, definitely keep those coming right in the GoToWebinar chat panel here that you have up. There is a question section. So we'll both be taking a look at those as they come across, trying to actually visualize some of those on the call. So feel free to keep those coming. For those questions that are, more specific or, we'll try to do our best to get to, but we can always reach out to you afterwards, or you can contact us at support@crelate.com just so we can get you some answers. All right, well, without further ado, let me share my screen here so you can all get an introduction and an overview. So I'll pull that in here. So you should now be seeing the homepage of my Crelate. So a lot of you are familiar with this view. And we'll talk about a few different visual options within your homepage with which you can configure your data. So as many of you may know, you have the drop down up above with just some different options, view-based options, whether it's the default views that you have or custom views that you may have created. So in this case, I'm actually going to start in my Open Jobs view because we're going to talk about a few of the filter options that you see right up above on my screen. So these filters are what I have created to better help segment my data down. So as a recruiter, or maybe as an administrator, and I'm coming in to start my day, and I want to start right on the home page here, I can kind of create a dashboard of a report. So hey, let's say show me all the jobs that Ian Remington is working on that we've labeled as a hot priority that he's been working on recently. So right here, if I call Ian over or I have him at my desk, I can quickly talk to him, maybe get a status update on these two positions. Quickly and easily, I can transition. Okay, now I want to focus on Caitlin. What's the hot priority position that she's working on? Doesn't look like there are actually any candidates on this position yet, so maybe we need to get a move on there. So it just gives you some quick filter capability to segment your view down based on specific action items. And we'll talk about actually how to create these in a moment. Additionally, outside of this, you do have a filter option up above. It's a very similar principle. Show me everything that Ian Remington is working on. Maybe that he actually has made a placement for. I want to congratulate him on different placements that he's made. I can see which positions he's potentially closed out, or what he's been working on recently. Just show me within the last 7 days, what is it that he's been really working on. So you can just use these to your advantage to create a more personalized and unique view. But where this really comes to a customization aspect is actually by using the cogwheel right up here in the top right-hand corner. This is where you get the side panel that'll scroll out from the right-hand side, and you can begin actually customizing this. So you'll notice I already have a few filters that'll set up, and of course, as I touched before, I already have a few quick filter tiles as well. But before we get there, we'll just talk to some of the basic entities and aspects that you can change. Whether it's just a visual preference of keeping these, very small to all the way to very large tiles. The larger the tile, the more fields that you can actually display here. So my preference is, I really like to see the job summary. I like to see who's working on it, when we had activity, yesterday, and then the candidates in the stage. So it just gives me a quick graph representation of everyone across my pipeline. So even without clicking into the job, I can kind of tell, we're on the early stages here. We have a lot of people interviewing in the middle stages here, or if I've passed on a lot of candidates, that bar would obviously be much higher. So it's just to give you a quick synopsis of where everyone is, but you can actually choose your own field. So instead of, maybe I don't actually need one of these and I'd like something else, you can pull in different options in different fields. Maybe I want to see the bill rate for this position, or what's the expected value. Let's throw that on there because I really want to track revenue and see, okay, well, it's 6,200 for this dev position, 150K for our sales associate. We actually don't have any information available for these two, so maybe we need to get cooking and add some more data there to these positions so we can have more available information. So you can rearrange these up and down. That'll change the order with which everything's displayed. So that's, again, up to your control. And the larger the tiles, just the more you can display. So as you get smaller, obviously the data will condense. So that's just totally up to you and what you're really used to and what is based on your preference. Before we get further cooking a little bit into the filters and the quick filter tiles, Brittany, I just wanted to pause for a moment to see if any initial questions had come across.
Yes, we do have some great questions. The first question is, some individuals do not have the tile view on. So can you show how you can change from a tile view to a list view from an all candidates view?
Yep, we can definitely do that. And as a precursor, we will be getting to this all candidates view. So that's a good question. I'm just going to hold off on it for just a few minutes, as I will definitely be diving into that section. But as Brittany noted, so let's say, I'm someone who really, maybe I'm comfortable working in spreadsheets and in Excel. I'm a very column-oriented person. And this tile just doesn't quite do it for me. It doesn't give me enough information. What you can actually do is change this from a tile to a list view, which gives me column segments of the columns that I previously had on the tiles. But this will obviously allow me to add much, much more. So come in and show me the opportunity type. I'd really like to see the primary business location. Let's separate out the company name. So as you'll notice, these will just be rearranged over to the right-hand side. You can use the scroll bar below to see those. Then again, I could always drag those up if there's something important that I'd like to see. I just rearrange the order of the columns. And then I can ultimately save this view. This isn't something that we've spoken about so far, but I can create a brand new master view as a Crelate administrative user, I can actually save default views, which will be directly reflected for all users under my organization. Or let's say I want to keep that as a, maybe my kind of overarching view, but I really like this view, it works for me. I can then save it as. So this would actually create a personal view. So we'll just say Ian's test view. I can choose to share that with colleagues if I'd like. So now instead of altering one of my master views, I can just go ahead and create a new view under the My View section. So I can always come back here at any time once I've done my configuration. So it's just nice to have options, whether you're sharing those with the team or keeping those more internal. Either way, based on your preference, you can create these. And then what we'll want to talk about moving forward is just some quick options to actually create your quick filter tiles. I'm definitely a big fan of these tiles as they, just allow quick capability. They're very visual, so you can easily see once you've selected it, who's highlighted and what exactly you're seeing. Definitely some of the more popular options that we'll see would be, ownership, so I can quickly target into who's working what job. If you do use our priority filter, you can, that's another big one that we see. Valuation, as you'll see, I have show me everything that's worth more than 20K. So you can really add these however you'd like and however best benefits your business. We have a lot of different columns you can choose from. Basically, any column that's available to add on an opportunity record, you can actually add in as a filter, including custom filters. So if you've created a custom field, you'd be able to then add that here via the new custom filter section. So a lot of options, a lot of opportunities, just something to think about as to how this can best benefit you and kind of give you some sort of stoplight or dashboard report. Because once this is actually all set, maybe I'm targeting in on Ian's hot jobs and I want to just share this with him, I can easily export this at any time. We can export that current view, including activities. So if I want to just give him a quick status update or share something with him as to where we are with these positions, or maybe share them with a client, again, same kind of principle, very easy to just export these at any time. Let me just pause here again just to see, Brittany, if we've had any additional questions.
Yes, so I think there's just a little bit of confusion about, as an administrator, if what you're doing is going to affect everyone's screen or if it's is just a private view when you log in. So if we can dive deeper into that. And then the second question is if you could reiterate just one more time where the quick filter tiles will be located on the screen and how to configure that.
Awesome, yeah, great points on both of those. So one thing to note, depending on what view you're in, you see right now, I've saved this, so it's a personal view. But if I were to actually go back, let's say we'll start back at our open jobs view, and I now make a change. Let's say my open jobs view is only hot positions. It's only when the priority is hot. And I save that. You'll actually be prompted letting you know that this is a system-wide view. So as an admin, I can change system-wide views. As a non-admin, they're not able to do that. So if I do save this, now every time if I were to leave and then come back to my open jobs view, you see it's just those that I've checked off. So while it says open jobs, you can of course have this configured however you'd like, but basically if I save as an admin, that's going to update the master view. But if I make a change and then hit the view drop down, I can save as to create a brand new view. So this is something that wouldn't be altering the top views above. It would actually be creating a brand new view in the My Views section. So you see I've created a view for Ian, so I can come in and see his jobs. I've created one for Caitlin, so I can see hers. So you can just build those as you go. And for the next question on actually configuring the quick filter tiles, so those ultimately display right where my cursor is up above. So we'll go in, we'll create a quick filter tile. So I'll use the option here. Remember, my starting point is always going to be this cogwheel. That's where you get very detailed with your view configuration, and you give the side panel over to the right-hand side. So from here, we configure the tiles, and we'll use the plus sign because we're going to create a brand new tile. So we've already done some about priority and owner. We'll go ahead and I'm going to create a new tile. We'll say based on the potential value of the position. So I want to see everything that is potentially worth more than 110K. So we'll save that. So we'll see it's listed right here. I can rearrange this in any order. So let's say we'll have this as the second option because it's a big one. It's important for us. You know, it's obviously of high value. I hit OK, and now we can see how many instances there are. So in this case, there's 3, and we'll undo this filter to have a few more results. So 17 jobs owned by Ian, 3 by Caitlin, and just the one that's more than that specific 100K in valuation. So that's how you create it. There's how they're displayed, and then you're choosing within which order those tiles actually do appear. All right, perfect. So that will wrap up on the jobs portion. From a different view, what we often see and that we had had a question on earlier was actually about the all candidates view. So the candidates view gives me more of a pipeline breakdown. So while the jobs view, as sort of accentuated, it's more jobs based. I'm seeing more tile and job related information, while the candidates view sort of gives me a homepage dashboard with which to work with. So great, I can see my ABC Inc. We have a developer position, we have a human resources and a sales associate position. So you can kind of scroll down to see all available positions. I can always use the filter up above. Hey, just show me everything only by ABC Inc. or show me everything that we're working on for Crelate. You can actually filter down by specific title or company just to help, again, get a quick segmentation down of your data. But what's also pretty handy is in a similar principle to how we broke down the jobs view, you can also break down the candidates view. So let's say, show me everything that Ian Remington is working on, whose current salary is more than 90K, and who he's spoken to recently. So across all our jobs, it's going to pull this information in. So if I remove this, we'll play with a few more results here. So we'll say everyone who has an A tag, I've deemed them as a very good candidate, and they're a hot candidate, so they're actively looking. So regardless of the job, it's actually going to group and show all candidates that Ian's working with who are ranked A and who also have been given a hot status as a tag. So it doesn't matter the job that they're based on. It just basically gives me quick snapshot capability to say, oh, great, at the top of my mind, I don't have to click into different jobs to view this. I just really want to know who's actively pursuing a position and in what process they are. You'll notice James Adams, I'm actually considering him for 2 jobs. I'm pitching him this dev job. He's just a new candidate there. He's actually all the way up to our second interview stage for this HR position. So you can really quickly see a segmented list of candidates based on the filters you set. So it's very valuable to allow you to come right in. Same exact principle as we saw on the jobs-based side, where you use the cogwheel up in the top right-hand corner to create those quick filter tiles. So that's what I've done here. Show me everyone who's a hot candidate, who makes less than 90K, who makes more than 160K. I want to see some of the, obviously more, value-based potential applicants. So it's just easy to come in, create those, use unique filters and visualizations, which we'll get into in just a moment. And just like in your list, in your jobs view, you can also move these from a tile to a list. So if I did actually want to pull in some information, well, yeah, let's go ahead and I want to see where they're located. And then we'll say what their salary is. Let's see if that's included. So easy to pull in those columns, view them as a pipeline, just hopefully open-ended to give you guys a lot of flexibility. But let me just pause here, Brittany, just to see if any questions have come across.
Yes. And so we did get some questions, and some people are creating filters currently. However, their filters for their open job view is different from their all candidates view. So can you just discuss how the different views will display different filters that you will have to add in?
Sure. So yeah, let me just make sure that I'm properly understanding this. So feel free, guys, if I'm off the mark here, just to clarify. So basically the views will all be different based on what you've set. So Crelate has default options. Basically your default all candidates view is just going to be, let me refresh here so we can see it, a pipeline breakdown of all candidates across all jobs. Your default all jobs view is as intended and as aptly named. It's all your jobs that you have in the database. The default open jobs view is actually using the status that you have of these opportunities. So we'll see In this case, for the developer position, it's a lead, it's a perspective, and it's in progress. So it's only showing those that are actually open opportunities as opposed to closed. Again, you can actually change these with your own filters. So that way you can have the capability to alter these however you'd like. So Brittany, do we think that got at the question, or is there still anything outstanding there?
Yes. So for each one, you guys can configure your own filters, and that can be separate for your all candidates view versus your open jobs view. We do have some questions just regarding how to add a custom filter, such as filtering by tags. It's not one of the options for filters or the quick filter tiles. And so if you wanted to add a custom quick filter tile or a custom filter, how would you go about doing that?
Yeah, great point. And actually here, this can kind of segue into our next view, because I'll do this here. We'll go into a job dashboard view, because as you guys saw on the candidates view, I also have a few tags that have been set up. So yeah, good question. Sorry I hadn't shown that earlier, so we'll definitely get to that here. So for those tags option, basically when you're adding a filter, what we intend to do is just give a few quick options of what we see that can be commonly used. But if I actually wanted to create something that's not listed here, I can use that custom filter option. What that does is allow me to add a filter condition for any field available, in this case, on a contact record, since we're in a dashboard and reviewing contacts. So I can come right in. It's one of the most common options. So we have it right here, front and center. So we'll add a brand new one. We'll add it based on tags. And I'd like to use one of my tag categories. Let's say I'd like to see everyone across my jobs who have tagged as having 5 years or more of experience. So we'll throw that in there. I'm gonna hit OK. And now I can rearrange, whether this is a filter that I have on the right or whether it's a quick filter tile. I can rearrange how it's displayed. I can check and uncheck it to see, now we've narrowed our view to only those with 5 years experience, unselect it to see everybody. So yeah, if you're creating it as a filter or as a quick filter tile, it's just a matter of, adding that, creating a new custom filter, and then using the filter condition dropdown to add, in this case, as tags. So you can come in to create those. Something that's nice about the dashboard, so obviously you have the same fundamental principles that we've been dealing with. Who are we looking at? Are they hot candidates? Are they making more than 150K? You can see what filters you have applied. So if you ever forget, it'll show me filtered Ian Remington, tags hot, salary more than 150K. A relatively newer feature that we had actually added this early spring here was for data visualization. So you'll see you have the sunglasses icon in the top right-hand corner. This is a very popular option to filter down based on last activity and next activity. This will actually color coordinate those tiles, and I'll give you a quick example of what that means. So first, we'll select by last activity date. This color coordinates the tiles based on my last touch point. Now I've set them to fade from blue to pink if I haven't reached out in a while. So those that are my deep sort of blue or purple here, I've reached out to recently, you see as recently as today. Those who I haven't kind of blend into a lighter purple all the way to pink if it's been over 30 days since I've had an engagement with them. And you'll actually see those if we scroll down below the quick filter tiles that we were looking at earlier. You'll see those right here where I'm coloring items based on the last activity date. Now, if I'd like to change this, I could double click or use the cogwheel to edit it. Maybe these colors are sort of burning my eyes out and I actually want to fade it from red to green. And instead of 0 to 30, I'm really interested if we go just above 2 weeks without contacting somebody. So let's set those colors up. So now I know, great, okay, everyone who's red is good. We've reached out to them recently. Everyone trending green, we need to get a hold of because we haven't spoken with them in a while. So that is definitely a good option just from a visual perspective, but also from a next activity standpoint. So hey, show me those people who we actually have upcoming appointments with. Same kind of principle where you set the activity and the time frame. So if it's tomorrow, it's going to be very blue trending to pink. If we have an upcoming appointment, maybe 30 days out. So great, we have something with James, Joe, John. It looks like it's more recently upcoming because he's still that darker purple. Shaughnessy's out in a while. Same with Hannah, Kimberly. So it just gives you quick access without actually clicking into a record, just so you know from a dashboard perspective who either has an upcoming activity or who you've engaged with recently. But just like our previous views, if I want to actually see that in column-based data, I can always do that. Or I can say, hey, let's add a new column for actually what the last activity date is. Or like the other one, what's the next activity date? So you could just add your date-based fields where you can see, some key dates or when the last activity date was or the next reach out date was right here in a column perspective. So you can always do that as well. You'll actually notice the indices are still highlighted just briefly over the left-hand side. Even if you're in a list view, it'll still show that for you. Right over to the far left, you'll see some pink and some blue, and here we are. So a lot of options here from a visual perspective, just to give you that quick glimpse capability to track activity based on a job. So Brittany, let me just pause here to see if there are any questions.
Yes, there's a really good question. If you go on the right-hand side and just select filters and add a filter that's already a preset option, someone wants to know how to configure that filter further. So right on the right-hand side of your screen now, if you go into the filters box,
Okay,
and then click the plus sign in the top right-hand corner, and let's just add the filter of type.
all right.
How would someone go into this and set the type that they would like?
Got it. Okay, yeah, good question. So let me, just because there's only two options here, let me go and add one with a few more options. So we'll add one for stage, just because I have, 10 to 15 stages here that we can play around with. So what this will do, when not selected, obviously nothing's going to be filtered down. When selected, it's going to start to engage. Obviously, in order to select it, I do need a value. So, okay, well, what do we want to see? I'd like to see everyone in the new stage. So now we're kind of starting. Everyone who's submitted, and then everyone who's on our short list. So great, when this is checked, that's always going to show us those candidates. We can always unselect it or even save it as a unique view. I could save this as a master view, or just like on the homepage, save as to create a brand new view. But yeah, the drop-down option will be your best bet to choose from a selected pick list of values, if like within the stage option, there are multiple. So good question. Anything else there, Brittany?
Yes, just going through here really quickly, people just have some questions on not only do you have filters or different views you can have for an open jobs view to an all candidates view, but in the top right hand corner after selecting the cogwheel, you can choose if you want to display that data in rows or columns. So that will be the toggle option there. And then another question, a great question that just came in, someone said if they save a view, is there a way to share it with other users?
There is. So well, first of all, if you save a master view, that will be kind of your default view when you're coming back, and you're always prompted before doing that. So that will let you know that this is basically what all users are going to see when they come to the screen. But let's say, right now I want to make this a more unique view. I'm going to save this as my own view. So this will be, again, Ian's dash view, and I can share this with my colleagues. So great, we've created this. It's now a brand new view. It actually says right there, we're configuring the dash view. So it lets you know that you've created this as a new view option. So you can always come in and go back, edit this view, delete it if you don't actually need it. So yeah, you do have the capability to share those views and view which options you've saved. So great, let's go to our tile view or view one or Ian's dash view. So they'll all show up right in the view dropdown up above.
And once that view is shared, how would another colleague then access that view?
Yep, so they'd access it if they are in the dashboard and it's a shared view. So let's say we leave, I'll refresh the page just to get rid of that view. So it's like we're coming back brand new to the home page. I'm coming back into the developer, and we can actually see we're on the Ian's dash view, but if I ever want to change that back, oh, well, actually I want to go back to my standard tile view, you can click right back in. So you'll have the capability right using the drop down. If something has been shared, it will show directly below. All right,
Awesome. That answered that question. Thanks, Ian. And
good.
any other questions that you guys have? I know a lot has been running coming into our system here. We're going to try to address them all, but please feel free to reach out. We do want to make this interactive with you guys.
Excellent. Okay. So one last kind of overall topic that I want to get to today is based on the just your sort of overall master views for companies, for opportunities, and for contacts. So the principles, again, will be pretty similar across the board. So we're just going to focus on contacts for the time being. Because what we get a lot of questions on, what a lot of people will ask about is how to ultimately change this view and again, sort of make it your own. And a very similar option as well, is this affecting all users in my organization? Is this just for me to see? So you have the capability to set, your own views and to customize which columns are displayed, just like you can from a dashboard and really any view in Crelate. We try to give you the ultimate flexibility to, just to configure that to your liking. So if we start off, as an admin, I am able to right away use the cogwheel here. So we can see what view we're looking at in the top left. We're looking at our all recent contacts. So right away, I can come in and actually change what encompasses an all recent contacts view. So let's say, hey, I actually hate how this is configured. I'm going to get rid of a bunch of the junk here that I don't need. Maybe all I really need to see is the name of the contact, who's working with them, and when that actual activity was, because this is in fact our all recent contacts view. So I could save this. You are prompted again, just like with the others, that you're editing a system-wide view. So now when my users come back, if they were to leave and then come back in and they're going to different views, they're going to look at the sales contacts and then back to the recent contacts, they'll come back right with that view as I had set it. But let's say instead of doing that, um, or maybe I like this view as is, but for me personally, I really want to keep an eye on Ian's contacts. For whatever reason, I want to keep an eye on how he's doing, when he's reaching out, or just overall status update. I can use the cogwheel, and now this time, if instead of using kind of the drop down like we had done before, I can run a quick find in the top of my screen where my cursor is. So what this will give me the capability to do is add in some different fields and filters. So hey, let's add a field because I want to see everyone where the owner is Ian Remington. Great, so we're just seeing 361. It'll give you the tally below, total volume of contacts. Of Ian's contacts, show me everyone who is an operations exec. Great, left with 73. Of those, show me people who, let's say he has had an interview, a task, a note, a placement, or a coffee meeting. We'll date this back to August 1st. Great, so we can see that. I pull in, it's 3 individuals that are kind of left, and let's say this is the working list that I wanted. I can save this, and this will actually save as a new query. So we'll save this as our webinar test query. You see I can choose to save this with all users or just keep this internal to myself. In this case, I'll just keep it internal. And you'll see the header up above will change as this is now our webinar test query, and you can access these in the queries section. So the queries in Crelate will update dynamically. So as Ian adds more candidates, as he adds them with the title Op Exec, and as he adds them with notes, coffee meetings, placements, tasks, and interviews that have occurred since August 1st, this will roll and automatically update dynamically for you. So it's not something that's stagnant that you're controlling. That's the difference here between a query and a list. The lists are really there for you to control. I have an MPC list, a most placeable candidate list. Obviously that's not something that's rolling. This is me, doing lots of research and vetting these candidates to know that they're the top of the line. Or I want to segment things down from a call list. I'm looking to make a whole group of calls and I want to organize those people on one list for the week or for the month. So the lists are really what you control and create. You can actually select people when you're in a view and add them right to a list if you'd like. So we can go ahead and add them to a list. Oh yeah, these people are finance contacts. Let's add them right to that list there. So the query, again, update dynamically. The list, you have more creative control over as to how people are added and then when you'd like them removed. But Brittany, any view-based questions here?
Currently, we do not have any view-based questions regarding this section, but if you guys do, just please feel free to type them in and we can definitely have Ian address that on this webinar.
Awesome. All right. And then as noted earlier, when we were looking at the homepage, any screen in Crelate is going to be, when you have data on there, pretty much you're going to be able to export that. So if we're looking at this test query list here, I can run a quick export, hey, which columns do I want to include? And let's start that export up above. Or like we were looking at earlier, when we're in a dashboard, our client here, he calls up and wants to know where we're at, what's the status update. Or maybe he doesn't necessarily want a status update of all candidates. We can actually get pretty clever and use one of the filters that we were just looking at, where we're looking at people by stage. So what our client really wants to know is, show me everyone who you've submitted to me, who you've interviewed, and kind of who's getting far in the process. So right away, I can come to export. So I'm sharing these contacts with my client. I'm controlling in the export based on the fields up above, which fields they are able to see when I run that export. So very easy to create sort of your working status or progress report to share with a client. You also have that capability from your homepage, if you're ever looking at a job view or at a candidate's view, to quickly run that export, including any activities. Hey, just show them activities that have happened within the last 2 weeks. So a lot of options to, once you have the data set as you'd like it, to ultimately export that out. So we've gone a few minutes over. Typically we try to allot between 30 and 45 minutes, but I obviously don't want to take up too much of your time. So well, before we let you go, Brittany will just check in to see if there are any last minute questions.
I do see some trickling in here, and any that we've had missed, we'll be sure to create a support ticket to address that with you guys. But any questions that you guys did not get a chance to ask, or maybe a question has developed after the course of this webinar, please feel free to email support@crelate.com, and we definitely will address that.
All right, perfect. Yeah, well, thank you guys so much for attending. Keep an eye out on your email, as we will be hosting another one of these webinars next month in January. So the topic will be unveiled pretty shortly for that. So in a couple weeks after the holidays here, we'll make sure to get that out. But definitely appreciate your guys' time and checking this out. Hopefully this was valuable for you. Certainly if you have suggestions on upcoming topics, obviously let us know. We really want this to be the voice for you guys. Or if you didn't enjoy the webinar, you had feedback as to how to make it better and more pertinent for you guys. Obviously we're doing this for you guys, not for ourselves, just so we can talk your ears off. So we really want to make sure we're getting the topics that you guys are most interested in, or that'll help you learn more that you didn't necessarily know previously about Crelate. So by all means, fire away those topics, any suggestions at all that you guys have. But ultimately, I just want to wish you guys the best. Thank you for attending. Have a great holiday season. Well, hopefully you guys can get some R&R here over the next couple weeks, and we'll look forward to hearing from you as any questions do come forward. Thanks, guys.